Hello everybody, I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films. And that was a bunch of home movies. Man, and it stopped just as it was getting good. I love me some early amusement park footage. It's really great. And let me start off by apologizing about Friday. Friday was a day that we were setting up stuff for this opening for the Wiffle Fist reunion exhibit, and ran out of time, and I got basically I was screwed by some technology that corrupted flash drives and files, and no audio, as Kevin, who's in the comments, told me. And then I didn't actually look at my Facebook messages until 6 p.m. that day. So I apologize for that. I have removed that from YouTube. And it was 3 days of technology being a bear. Absolutely a giant pain in the butt. We persevered, but man, it was annoying. And I'm sorry that you guys had to deal with that. You know, what we're looking for, just simple things, right? You press this button, you do this thing. It's simple. None of it. We've added this level of complexity. And one of the levels was that my band, the Beatless, one of the members of the band got COVID. And so we did it as a 3-piece instead of a 4-piece. And we had a backing track where he was there virtually, based on recordings we did 25 years ago. And we played along to that, and mostly it was okay, but you know, it was more exacting than what we were used to during our practices. So it was, you know, it had its problems, but every show that we ever did, Wiffle Fist related, had its problems. So back to, anyways, idea, simple demonstrations. Here's simple demonstrations with magnetism. Enjoy.
To learn about magnetism, we're going to observe some simple demonstrations that show what magnetism does. Most of us know that a magnet attracts certain materials. As I bring the magnet near the piece of steel, I can feel a force attracting the steel. Magnets can produce a force. As a matter of fact, the force of these small magnets holds this sign on the steel board. Now, let's try the magnet on these materials. It doesn't attract copper, or glass, or zinc, or wood. In fact, magnets attract only iron and steel, and a few less common metals. Now, here is a very powerful magnet. Watch this steel ball closely as I place it near the magnet. The magnet attracts a ball from a distance. We say the magnetic force acts through space. Here's another way to see that a magnet's force acts through space. This bolt is attached to the base of the stand by a thread. When I place a powerful magnet at the top, the bolt is held in space by the magnet's attraction, a force acting from here to here. Without the magnetic force, the bolt falls. To find out more about magnetic force, I'll lay some paper on top of this magnet. You'll see later why I'm using wax paper. When I sprinkle the iron filings onto the paper, the force of the magnet pulls the filings into a pattern. These lines, called lines of force, show the magnetic field around the magnet. Now we'll see why I used wax paper. The heat of this lamp will soften the wax and embed the filings. Now we have a permanent record of the magnetic field. With light behind the paper, we can see the lines of force very clearly. They come from the ends of the magnet and go completely around. The magnetic force extends into space around the magnet. Let's learn more about the force at the ends of the magnet. I'll roll this bar magnet in iron filings. Some are attracted to the center of the magnet, but most of the filings are attracted to the ends. The ends of the magnet, where the force is strongest, are called poles. All magnets have poles. To see more about poles, I'll use this magnet, which is hanging, so it can turn freely. After a few moments, it comes to rest, one pole pointing toward the north and the other toward the south. The pole that points north is called the north-seeking pole, or N-pole, and the south-seeking pole is called the S-pole. Here I have a bar magnet that turns freely on a pivot. It has the poles labeled. Now, when I bring two N-poles together, they push against each other. We say they repel. Two S-poles also repel. But when I bring an N and an S pole together, they attract. Let's remember that like poles repel, unlike poles attract. Here I have two magnets that are circular. They have a pole on each side. Let's see what happens when I place them on this stand, like poles facing each other. The like poles are repelling each other. The top magnet is held in space by the magnetic force. The force is so strong that it holds the top magnet up. Here are four magnets. These two have like poles together, and these have unlike poles together. I'll use wax paper again so we can see the lines of force. The lines of force are forming different patterns. After heating the paper, as I did before, we get a good picture of the lines of force. Between the two unlike poles of the magnet, the lines of force join. But between the like poles, we can see that the lines of force do not join. This iron bar is not a magnet. It doesn't attract these steel balls. But when I touch the bar with this magnet, it does attract them. So, I made a magnet of the iron bar when I touched it with this magnet. Magnets can make other magnets. But when I remove the magnet, the bar soon loses its magnetism. It was a temporary magnet. To make a permanent magnet, one that will continue to be a magnet, I'll stroke the bar over one pole of this magnet, always in the same direction. Now I'll take the magnet away. The bar lifts the steel balls. It is a permanent magnet. I magnetized this iron bar by stroking it with a magnet. This model will help us see how it happens. In the model, There are many tiny magnets pointing in different directions. They represent the magnetic particles in an iron bar. When I stroke the model with a magnet, all the magnetic particles line up. All the N poles point one way, and the S poles the other. Scientists think that in a magnet, many magnetic particles are lined up. A compass is a very useful device. There are several kinds of compasses. Here's the kind you may have seen before. A compass needle is a magnet. And its N pole points toward the north, and its S pole toward the south, helping us to find directions. A compass needle points north and south because the Earth is a magnet. The compass needle is attracted by the Earth's magnetic poles. The north magnetic pole here and the south magnetic pole here are different from the north and south geographic poles. Since the Earth is a magnet, there is a magnetic field around it. The lines of force extend from pole to pole. We'll use this globe, which has a magnet mounted inside, to demonstrate how we use a compass. A compass needle, which is a magnet, is attracted by the Earth's magnetic poles. It shows us the directions of the lines of force leading from pole to pole. So, magnetism is all around us. Let's remember some of the things we've seen. We saw that magnets can produce a force. Magnets have poles. Magnets can make other magnets. And the Earth is a magnet. By experimenting with magnets, from this simple bar magnet to the Earth itself, we can learn many things about the force we call magnetism.
So some of you clued into the fact that he seemed like a young Vincent D'Onofrio playing Pyle from Full Metal Jacket. He did have that kind of vibe to him. But he shows up in other stuff that we have, so we'll see more of him soon. So behind me, I have a film set up on the scanner. Excited to be back scanning and showing you films live. This came from, I got a box of films from Matthew L. Thank you so much. He's like, I had these films and don't want them anymore, and he sent them to me, which is great because a lot of our films, vast majority of them, are off-site right now. So it's going to be a more interesting challenge to I can't just go in the back, and pull films. So this box showed up, so I'm pulling from that box. So I'll probably, throughout the week, we'll watch stuff that he sent us. So thank you, Matthew. It's very much appreciated. So this was written on here, great skateboard race. I don't know what it is. I'm hoping that it has skateboards and that they are racing. Enjoy.
Roger Ramjet and his eagles fighting for our freedom. Fly through wind and outer space, not to join 'em, but to beat 'em. Roger Ramjet, he's our man, hero of our nation. For his adventures, just be sure and stay tuned to this station. So come and join us, all you crooks they're after. Roger Ramjet, he's our man, hero of our nation. For his adventures, just be sure and stay tuned to this station.
In today's unsolicited episode, we find our superhero, that all-American good guy and devil-may-care flying fool, Roger Ramjet, in a dickens of a hurry. For Roger has a date with his one and only, the beauteous, glamorous flower of American womanhood, Miss Lotta Love.
I'm late for a very...
Fancy bumping into you, a Ramjet.
You did some pretty fancy bumping yourself, Lance Crossfire, ace test pilot and my principal rival for the affections of Miss Lotta Love. And just where do you think you're going?
I think I'm going to be very sore in the morning from that collision. But if it's any of your business, I have a date with Lotta.
Oh, no, you don't. I have a date with Lotta.
Ramjet, if we weren't friendly rivals, I could really learn to hate you.
Well, it looked like the absent-minded Lotta had done it again. She'd made a date with both Lance Crossfire and Roger on the very same day.
Oh, I'm sorry, boys. I guess I got a little confused again.
A lot of my duck. This is getting a bit ridiculous. Now, why don't you choose between us, once and for all?
Oh, I just can't do that. You're both so terribly sweet. Oh, just looky here. You both bought me candy.
I'm getting pretty tired of this, Crossfire.
That's Crossfire, and you know it, rimshot.
Boys, stop this bickering. Why don't you have some kind of contest to see who gets to take me out to a lovely dinner at some overpriced restaurant of my choice?
Contest? But, Lotta, that would be unfair. After all, I am the greatest all-around sports hero in the history of Benedict Arnold Memorial High School.
Oh, well, it so happens, Ramjet, I was voted most valuable athlete at Mrs. Prentwhistle's School for Overprivileged Teenagers. I got 7 letters.
Your mother should have written more often.
Why, you...
Boys, please, let's behave like gentlemen.
Sorry, my dear, but I can do anything he can do better.
Oh, no, you can't.
Oh, yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Oh, yes, I can.
Oh, no, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Obviously, Lance and Roger were having a slight difference of opinion. And as the argument grew hotter, they decided to settle the matter on the field of battle.
Very well, Crossfire. Name your sport and we'll compete for Lotta's hand.
How about tennis?
No, I have a bad elbow. What about swimming?
No, I have sinus trouble. How about bowling?
No, that's out. I have a trick knee. What about handball?
Bad back.
And so the discussion continued. And as the two super athletes tried to agree on the proper sport to test their mettle,
Badminton?
Fallen arches. Ice skating?
Weak ankles.
then suddenly they came to an agreement.
Skateboards?
Yes, skateboards. Roger Ramjet and Lance Crossfire decided to engage in the skateboard race of the century down a huge hill known as Fitov Peak.
You know the rules, Ramjet. No elbowing, gouging, or hollering bad things at the other guy.
Very well, and the first one to cross the finish line wins the hand of that delicate creature.
Oh, I just love the ones with the chewy centers, don't you?
And at the very top of Fitov Peak, the race was about to begin.
On your marks, get set.
And off they went at breathtaking speed in a race that skateboard fans would long remember.
Get away, you're too close.
I can't. Our wheels are locked together.
And across the finish line they came, neck and neck, head to head, shoulder to shoulder, boulder.
Oh, wait, boys. You already crossed the finish line. Oh,
And so as quickly as it had begun, the great skateboard race was over.
no. Well, since neither of you silly boys is able to take me out, I'm sure you won't mind if I have a date with little old General Brass Bottom, honey.
Don't worry, men. I'll take good care of the little lady.
Good old General Brassbottom. It's a privilege to know him.
Oh, Roger.
Yes, Lance.
Shut up.
When Ramjet takes a proton pill, the crooks begin to worry. They can't escape their awful fate from proton's mighty fury. Roger Ramjet, he's our man, hero of our nation. For his adventures, just be sure and stay tuned to the station. So come and join us, all you kids, for lots of fun and laughter. As Roger Ramjet and his men get all the crooks they're after. Roger Ramjet, he's our man, hero of our nation. For his adventures, just be sure.
And it just ends. So that's of the definitely Rocky Bullwinkle ilk. Not made by the same people, but definitely that was, there was interest in that, and that this was made for NBC, I think. And of course, the voice Gary Owens is Roger Ramjet. Gary Owens, who you might know from Laugh-In. And then some of the creators and writers and voices were people that then went on to do stuff for The Muppet Show, for Sesame Street, Children's Television Workshop, that kind of same humor. And what I like about this is, and what I liked about watching films or cartoons like this as a kid, they weren't dumb for kids. They weren't dumbed down for kids. They were made for general audiences, but they were shown to kids. But the jokes are, they kind of sometimes go beyond the scope of what a kid might understand, but they might not. I mean, they might understand it. Like, there's certainly references to, in Rocky and Bullwinkle and those early Warner Brothers Looney Tunes, are things that were adult, but I kind of got, or I didn't get, and they just kind of went over my head. You know, it's not talking down to kids. It's kind of raising them up. All right, let's go to Mexico and get 4 views about living in Mexico. Enjoy.
Hasta aquí, él es un muchacho de las papas que estaba con mi papá. A mí lo que me decían, y se pone, ¿Está aquí? ¿Está aquí? ¿Está aquí? ¿Está aquí?
Desnujada, greñuda. Mamacita chula.
Termina tu desayuno, Pablo.
15, 16, 17, 18.
Desayúnate. Mamá. ¿No quieres los chichis, no?
¿Por qué platicamos?
Es como cuando teníamos la tele, que veían la tele y que bien que platicaban y que desayunaban los niños. Así les hacen. ¿Te sirvo, Manuel? No se vayan a acabar.
No sé cómo pensarán que son nuestras mañanas en México.
I don't know what you expect our mornings here in Mexico to be like. If you expect them to be something different from your own. With 7 of us, they're busy, yes, but different, I don't think so. We get dressed, eat, the children must get to school on time. Because today is Monday, market day, Margarita and I have to plan what she will buy this afternoon. After breakfast, she does the household chores, and I go to work.
Hace 10 años que Margarita y yo vivimos en San Martín.
Margarita and I have lived here in San Martin for 10 years. It's a very good place to raise a family. Last year, the government built a new school nearby. The people are friendly, and the weather is pleasant, even now in December. So I really don't mind walking these 10 kilometers each morning.
Cuando nos casamos, yo cultivaba un pequeño terreno en las colinas.
When we were first married, I worked a small field up in the hills. But because the land here is quite dry, my harvests were small. There was always enough, though, at least for the two of us. But when the children began coming, Maria was the first, I knew I must find something more. For 7 years now, I have worked for Senor Sanchez. He owns the big private farm, just ahead.
La leche de esta finca va a muchos pueblos cercanos.
Milk from this farm goes to many of the different villages nearby. And for myself, I think some of the best meat in our country is raised here. Not just beef, but pork and chicken too. Many people, though, are surprised to find we have farms such as this in Mexico. They must still think we're a very backwards nation. It's said one of the biggest reasons farms like this are so important is because they are irrigated. That means we can grow more crops for ourselves and more that we can sell to other countries. But for me, it is enough to know that with the irrigation, there will always be water for the fields. And with water, there will always be crops for me to plant and pick. Whether it's carrots, corn, tomatoes, or cotton, there will always be something.
Cuando decidí venir aquí, no sabía cómo resultarían las cosas.
When I first decided to come here, I didn't know how things were going to work out. But I'm very happy now. Finally, I know I have a steady job and a steady salary. Finally, I know I can put food on my family's table, whether the rains come or not.
Voy a Ciudad de México a buscar algunas cosas.
No, I'm just driving into Mexico City for supplies. The men in the back, they're the ones who are going there to stay. I'm only giving them a ride.
¿De qué pueblo vienen los hombres?
The village the men came from? It's called Huasca, but the name isn't important. All over my country, it's the same story. Men say they're becoming tired of the hills. They're becoming tired of being farmers. They want more than working in the fields all day can give them. So they're packing up and moving to the cities for good. These men are lucky. At least they have relatives living there who they can stay with for a time. Many men don't. Yes, there's work to be found in Mexico City. There's a good deal of new industry there, and factories are going up every day. But the work is for machinists and mechanics. What is Rafael there supposed to do? He's a farmer. Farming's all he knows. What is he going to farm in Mexico City? I wish them luck, but I've seen many men before them try, and very few succeed.
Los invita a conocer 32 personajes nuevos que vienen en las corcholatas de Pepsi. Consigan su coleccionador en su tienda favorita o con el repartidor de Pepsi. Los monstruos se van. Últimos días de la venta monstruo de aniversario en...
Me gusta llevar a mis alumnos a los
I like to take my classes to the museums so they can see what their ancestors left behind. It's much easier for the children to understand their heritage if it's something tangible, something they can look at up close.
Creo que muchos maestros piensan igual que yo.
I think many teachers feel the same way. There's always a school outing somewhere. Of course, when you live in the oldest city on the continent, it's foolish not to take advantage of all it offers. You can go to the Zocalo and take a tour of the National Palace, where our president has his office. Or you can look at the National Cathedral. Some say it's the first church ever built in North America. There are all sorts of things to see. I don't want the children to become so involved with the past that they ignore the present, though. We should not forget our ancient buildings and legends by any means, but neither should we overlook the vecindades. The vecindades are the poorest parts of our city. Many of the people here have come from small villages up in the hills. The only trade they know is farming. They have a difficult time finding jobs, and the ones they can find don't pay a great deal.
Por lo general paso aquí 2 o 3 horas del día viendo cómo van las cosas.
I'm usually here 2 or 3 hours every day, seeing how things are getting along, checking the wiring and the plumbing, making sure the building supplies have arrived. There's always something to worry about. My men are kept constantly busy. Housing is one of our city's biggest needs, especially with so many people moving here each month. But we are lucky. The government is helping us as much as it can, and I think we're making progress.
No digo que no tengamos problemas, pero...
I'm not saying we don't have our share of problems out there, but you show me a large city anywhere in the world that doesn't. What do we have? 10 million people living here? Let me tell you, They're the reason our city is making such progress. My people do much more than eat tortillas and take siestas. There's only one way to build a city like this, and that's with hard work. I hope you put that in your film, too.
All right. Still falling back to that same stereotypes in the United States view of Mexico, and I think it's really not smart. I think we're dismissing a potential ally when we need. That's me soapboxing. All right, so behind me I have another film set up, again from Matthew L. And this is Pioneer of Progress. I don't know, we can go anywhere with this one. I have no idea what this is. What is that? Is it a person? Is it a country? Is it a company, a corporation? Do we still consider it to be, is it a contemporary pioneer of There's so many questions, so many questions. All right, enjoy.
This village blacksmith was behind America's dramatic pioneer days expansion. From his smithy came horseshoes and wheel rims of iron and later of steel. The prairie schooners that opened the continent rode on the blacksmith's products. The pioneers who voyaged out across the plains depended only on themselves. They relied on their own faith, courage, and resourcefulness. But steel axe heads to hack out clearings in the forest for their homes, was their great ally. The pioneer's axe conquered the forest and made of it a place to work and live. Steel saws cut the forest into logs, and steel tools shaped the logs into boards to make dwellings for the pioneers. Steel plows turned the earth into farmland to feed the country's growing appetite. But ours was a horse and wagon civilization until a new pioneer, the iron horse, came snorting and puffing across the prairie to increase the rate of America's progress 100-fold. The railroads flung across the land a network of steel rails that bounded into one nation, more prosperous than anyone had dreamed any nation might be. Today, steel and the industry that produces it continue to serve the pioneer spirit. Thousands of steel products pour from America's mills. Modern pioneers opening new frontiers, frontiers which offer greater happiness, security, and prosperity for our nation. America's steel industry is big business. Its 253 companies make half the world's steel. Yet it is small business too, for it's owned by more than 500,000 people. One of every 255 Americans owns steel stock. About the same number, over 650,000, work in this industry. And they're among the world's best paid workers, earning $2.5 billion a year. The making of steel is a complicated, highly skilled process, using the talents and crafts of hundreds of thousands of people. In this open hearth furnace, the raw materials, steel scrap and pig iron, which was made from iron ore, are blended into steel. Along with these ingredients goes a carefully measured quantity of limestone to change the metal's impurities into slag, which will later be drained off. The molten steel is cast into ingots. These weigh about 6 tons, but size varies in different plants depending on what is to be made from them. Removed from their molds, the ingots are placed in a soaking pit. This is an oven which equalizes the ingot's heat, bringing the entire chunk of metal to an even and very high temperature. The buggy carries the white-hot ingots to the rolling mill to be formed into useful shapes and sizes. American mills can produce more than 110 million tons of this metal a year. The ingot arrives at the rolling mill in its white-hot malleable form. It will be squeezed and kneaded back and forth through a series of rolls and then into a wide variety of plates, beams, pipes, rails, bars, and other marketable shapes. The men who guide the ingot through the rolling mill are typical of the industry's most highly trained technicians. Operation of the mill might appear entirely automatic, but no mechanical device can take the place of skill, experience, and judgment. For steel making is more than a business, it is an art. Gradually, the steel is shaped into new forms. This is a section of railway track, and like every steel product, it must be flawless in form and quality, and must meet rigid specifications. For that's the rule in a free competitive society. Good workmanship means good business, and competition guarantees the highest standards of production. Americans today are pioneers, though we travel in express trains instead of covered wagons. No uncharted territory remains, but there are other frontiers, and we conquer them in the pioneer way, through our own initiative and resourcefulness. And steel, even more than it was for the pioneers, is our ally. Steel-girded buildings open new frontiers in the sky. Bridges made of it span our rivers and bays, and steel machinery helps bring our mineral wealth into use. The ships that sail our waterways, helping to make the United States a world leader in commerce and industry, are ships of steel. It's used for farm equipment to help make us the best-fed nation in the world, and our farmers the most prosperous. Steel vehicles carry us through the streets of our busy cities. Cities whose very backbone and framework are of steel. When an American goes on vacation, he's likely to set out across the country in his own car. The car he drives is of steel. The concrete highway is reinforced with it. From steel comes the weapons to keep our country free. In the traditional American way, our nation's steel companies help America handle not only the defense needs of the moment, but those of the future. This voluntary production means that our fighting men, wherever they may be, have the best equipment that mill, engineer, and technician can make. Steel keeps America safe now, and a freely growing and developing steel industry guards our future as surely as these big guns, guns of steel, guard the freedom and security of America and the entire free world. As our needs increase, new mills and furnaces are constructed. These mills provide a vast livelihood for countless thousands of other workers and businessmen. A man who makes conveyor belts for ore mines, a bookkeeper in a Great Lakes shipping company, or a clerk who'll someday sell a shiny new refrigerator of steel. Recent expansion and improvements, privately financed, have given us greater production than all of Russia's full total. The increased production from our new plants alone is twice that of Britain's entire output, 3 times that of France. In steel's laboratories, scientists continually develop new and better products. Billions of dollars of private capital are spent in the search for new uses for steel, better and safer ways of making steel, new ways to expand its production, to keep it not merely equal to, but ahead of the nation's ever-growing demands. The gigantic electric steel-making furnace is an example of the endless research. In this furnace are manufactured the highest grades of steel for automobiles, aircraft, ball bearings, surgical instruments. The ingredients to be melted are dropped into the top of the furnace. Now the heat has to be increased, in some cases up to 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit. For this enormous heat, the furnace uses enough electric current to light a small city. From 3 electrodes, tremendous man-made short circuits leap to the metal below. The skill and judgment of the melter are all important in a job like this. A special instrument is used to judge the molten metal's quality. It's pronounced okay. While developing and expanding methods of making steel, the industry's scientists also have made steel making safer. Thanks to their research, hazards are minimized in handling even liquid hot metals like these. And steel is now one of the safest industries for the men and women who work in it. In this wire manufacturing plant, steel is rolled into a rod and drawn out into wire. From it will come an infinite variety of steel products, ranging from cables holding up a great bridge to a tiny pin. Whatever the final product, the wire is checked to make sure it fits specifications precisely. A tin plate mill makes steel and turns it into tin plate for what are popularly known as tin cans. The so-called tin can, a product that has revolutionized American living, actually is only about 1% tin. The rest is steel, so it's more correct to call it the steel can. The cans from pressed flattened steel, coated with a thin layer of tin, use up 3/4 of America's tin plate production, and the United States produces more than half the world's tin plate. We also are the world's best tin plate customer, buying more of it than the rest of the world combined. Steel racing along here at 30 miles an hour is made into 20 billion cans for food alone each year. Many more cans are needed for oil, tooth powder, paint, and other products. Steel cans have sent American products all over the world. The gleaming tin plate is cut into convenient sheets, and before these are sent out to be made into cans, they're subjected to a thorough examination. A few moments ago, we saw battleships, bridges, and skyscrapers. In smaller ways, too, steel carries on its pioneering job, ways that bring it into the home and the life of every one of us. Cookie cutters, pie plates, humble but essential articles. Stainless steel hands doing a job that only steel could do go to work in the modern processing of food, helping to raise our nation's health standards. Steel comes into every home, pioneering new ways to make life easier and better. Each steel company vies with the others for the patronage of the best customers in the world, the men and women of America. A steel hairpin, for example, making for a woman's happiness. Every one of us, every day, uses steel in hundreds of ways, and we start using it almost from the instant we're born. America's free, competitive economy depends and thrives on a free, competitive steel industry. From a razor blade to a skyscraper, steel builds our nation. Steel, from a hypodermic needle to a pipeline that stretches out across the country. Steel, from a whirling egg beater to an enormous suspension bridge. Steel, from a needle in the hands of a woman to the hull of the world's fastest ocean liner. Steel, from the ticking mechanism of a watch to the framework of the world's tallest building. Steel, pioneer of progress in America's past, enriches our nation now and opens new frontiers for America's bright future.
Whew, I heard the music playing. So, it seems like, according to my spreadsheet, where am I? Hi. So according to my spreadsheet, I might have shown a copy of this before, but it might have been a different thing. So, not sure. What am I looking at? Okay. I think I'm going to end a little bit early today. Because I still have some stuff I have to move from the exhibit. But tomorrow will be a full day. We'll make up for it time-wise. Don't worry about that. But, yeah. I appreciate you guys tuning in today. I appreciate you tuning in when I wasn't here. And some of you, I guess, watched for a little while, even though there was no audio. I'm going to blame Apple. Apple sucks. Apple really has been giving me a lot of problems with their discontinuing ports, so that I have to use a Thunderbolt port and then use like a dock to connect it with a USB, and that has caused all sorts of problems last week. So, anyways, that's what's going on. But thanks for tuning in. If you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. You can subscribe. Those are great ways to support us without paying anything. If you'd like to throw us a little bit of cash, you can go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are great ways to support us. Also, the super thanks button. Those are great ways. Great ways. Great. Anyways, we love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Everybody have a great rest of your Monday. Take care. Keep cool and hydrated, because it's brutal where we are right now. Take care.